Yeah, it's funny because I was saying to you before we started that that I so to give you some, I was running the festival, okay, and the festival was kind of funny. Like as I said, I think I said to you there, gone are the days when you can really being an event once a year. You need to have a. It used to be that you could be an event once a year and you'd run up to that event, in advance from a festival's perspective. Submissions. And I don't know if it applies for everyone. For me, I think given the current media landscape, you need to kind of be present all the time. Do you know what I mean? And offering some sort of service. But anyway, the what happened last year, say, was I thought the process was quite funny because you're getting submissions in and people are giving you material for their films and things like that. And I knew from being a filmmaker previously submitting to festivals that, I want people to talk about my films and I want people to show interest in my films. So we were looking at it here and the team were saying, well, listen, we have all this material from filmmakers that exists and it sits there and we don't do anything with it until submission times, and then we go and then we take half those, we judge them or whatever, and we push them to one side and we say, listen, you didn't get in, you got in. And so we're all about championing films. So what we'll do is we'll as long as we explain to the filmmakers that, listen, there's still a judging process, but we also want to promote your films and you've submitted to us, so we want to get the word out about your films, and maybe it doesn't get into our festival but it might get into another, but at the same time. So we thought it was we were in a situation where we'd be able to champion filmmakers and we'd also have material as well to promote our festival. So it worked out well. And it was only when we went and looked at the quality of the stuff that we were getting in terms of marketing material, we realized that a lot of filmmakers hadn't really put any thought into posters, into EPKs, into any sort of material or usable material. And that was kind of this mindset that they just weren't considering it at all. Now I know you're very much in the strategy and PR side of it, but this was 10 steps removed from that. I had to chase people to ask them if they had a poster,
Yeah.
which was strange. And because to me, and again, I'm on the festival side of it, I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. Everyone will be, doing this. But do you find that obviously I'm assuming when you started off, do you find that the filmmakers you're working with have become more savvy to this, or are they still very much in the mindset of, I've created something, I'm getting, it's really, really good, I don't understand why people aren't watching it or talking about it? Are people a little bit more clued into the process now, or what goes into it, or?
To be honest, it's kind of 50-50. So a lot of them know that festivals are important. They just need to figure out the next step in terms of which festivals will be the right ones for their film and learn about that circuit. But in terms of like with marketing and the posters, you said, that is a good point, because a lot of them, it's still like an afterthought getting a poster made. So some clients say to me, do we need to get a poster made for a short film? I'm like, well, yes, because it's still a film essentially, whether it be short or long. Doesn't matter. And they went, oh, okay. And then sometimes people make them themselves, which don't look professional. So no matter what kind of film you made, short or feature documentary, whatever it is, it's important to get a poster. And also it's important for the poster to be professional and delegate to somebody else who knows how to make a poster, and not just yourself on Photoshop or on Word, whatever, because that will not look good. Because it gives a very, like, for example, as you know, on Film Freeway, because obviously looking at films on Film Freeway, we create for our clients on our Film Freeway account, film page, obviously just looking after their film. So what we always make sure is we have a very striking poster, some stills, a trailer, and a really punchy synopsis that will hook the festival programmer in to think, oh, this could be good for my festival. And then obviously the bios and the director's statement. But the most important thing, besides synopsis being absolute killer, watertight synopsis, is a very strong poster and a trailer. And poster is the first thing they go like, they can tell a lot from a poster, in terms of how high-end it is, how much thought's gone into it, how professional the filmmaker is. It really is an important piece. And also, as you probably know, festivals are actually asking to upload to Film Freeway pages posters because they expect them now.
Yeah, and there's because it's the two reasons you just said. I remember, I don't know about how relevant it is now. I remember someone said to me years ago, they used to say if you didn't build a website, do you know what I mean, like a purpose-built website for your film or whatever, you weren't that serious about your film. Now I don't know how much that's true now, but my point, I suppose, to reiterate what you're saying, is that a really good poster and time spent on it tells you something about the filmmaker. It's something about optics are always really good. So when I get a really good, when I you can tell straight away before you've even watched the film a lot of times what you're in
Absolutely.
store for based on the style of poster that's being created for it. And
Absolutely.
the whole big thing you can get into about Hollywood poster design and how it's fallen apart over the years. And that you used to have films years ago in the 80s, 70s, and 80s where they created posters that were works of art that you wanted to keep on your wall. Now, I'd argue that that has gone a little bit by the wayside unless you want large portrait photos of Tom Cruise on your wall for every film that he makes. But do you know what I mean? There's a lot, although it might seem trivial, but there's a lot can be said about a really good poster. And obviously, yes, from a festival perspective, it's also self-serving. It gives me really good marketing material to be able to promote.
So let me just show you this. This is a really good example. What you just said was put on. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a fun little thing on the gift of my phone and Zoom. So we present currently a short film called The Gesture and the Word, which is a film from America and stars James Michael Tyler Gunn from Friends. So this is the poster, and it was made designed by the person who did the poster for Get Out.
Yeah.
So you can see how beautiful it looks. I know it's might be a bit.
No, I can see. Yeah.
So look at that, and that shows you a lot, because it's a big budget short, has stars in it, Paul Dooley and the guy from Friends, Gunther, James Michael Tyler, and it's a very well-made film, woman director. That shows you a lot that it's a quality product, as opposed to some posters which are just made in 2 minutes, no care and attention. That again, you're like, wow, this is interesting. Hence the interest it gets from people who see it on Instagram from other festivals that want to see the movie. So it's in a snowball technique.
Yeah, it's amazing how that one little thing, like, and even then, even with trailer design as well, like a lot of times, because I remember as a filmmaker, like there's an element of excitement to making a trailer for your film, but there's also an art that goes into making a trailer that I think sometimes people forget about, or they just take snippets from their movie. Like here's 30 seconds from a movie. There's no context, there's no excitement. It's just here you go and the names at the end and something like that. So there's a real art form to it. But these are kind of skill sets and stuff that it's probably changed now, but this is kind of stuff to me that is skipped over when you learn film production and stuff like that. Now, when I learned, maybe it's different now, but it was elements that were just seemed, and then you make a trailer, and it was like, you do all this and then you get to the end, by the way, you make a poster, make a trailer, make this, and that you put that out, and that's stuff that you figure out. So having somebody like yourself who's able to kind of guide people down that route, because it's also, I'd imagine, something filmmakers don't want to necessarily concern themselves with, or it's something extra they have to take on that they.
Yeah, I mean, there's something extra, but also the extra includes money to do it right. So I was talking yesterday to some lovely new clients of mine, and they have the budget because they've had funds from some funding bodies to get all the materials, and obviously more money comes in after making the movie. So it's important that you do plan ahead in advance for both the rules, so materials, and also festivals in the development stage, so you can raise the funds for it. So for example, making the movie is the fun part, obviously, and getting into the movie and making the work of art and getting it all done. But then after that comes getting it seen, as you know. But people do sometimes underestimate the cost, because it can get really expensive if you start traveling the world with festivals. But that's I mean, that's why I always say to clients of mine is that we streamline the festivals to attend that'll be worth to achieve their goals, like networking and events and stuff like that, industry focused ones. That's that's why you have to streamline it. But you need the basics are going to be money for submission fees, money to hire me, for example, a DCP to get made, a poster, a trailer, and also an SRT file should you be going to submit to festivals that are going to be all over the world, and you're going to, if they get in, you're going to have to need an SRT file to make subtitles that countries of origin. So these all cost. I mean, they're not a huge amount, but they're extra. And if there's no money in the pot, then how are you going to get it unless it's your own personal funds? So it does become important to plan ahead so early and think about what you want to do with it. And it is difficult because in the moment when you're creative, I know people I've worked with over times can be like, I can't wait, excited, I can't wait to make it. So, well, yes. So how much money is assigned for what you're going to do with it afterwards? And what do you want to do with it? Now you've made it, what's the reason behind making it? And I say, show reel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like sometimes, but not all like that. I mean, there's some examples, but the main ones who are very more focused can be much like, well, it's for going down the route of BAFTA level qualifying festivals, a piece for me, it's a proof of concept, whatever, that kind of thing. Whereas a feature, it's the first time feature, I want to sell it, and then I want to go to another one that's bigger budget. There are people that have got those plans, but you need to fine tuning because it's part of a bigger picture, and the micro details are important when it comes to film festival strategy.